As Karoline Leavitt walked through the busy streets of Washington, D.C., she never expected to witness the turning point of her life. No press conference, debate, or political rhetoric had impacted her as deeply as the person she was about to meet on the street. So what would this man she encountered on the street really teach her? Watch this story now, because this wasn't just an encounter, it was a reality that spoke of the pain and hope at the heart of society. One morning, Karoline Leavitt was walking through the quiet streets of Washington, D.C. She had decided to take a break from the busyness of her work and spend some time outdoors. She aimed for a peaceful walk, away from the hustle of the crowds and the noise of traffic. But that morning, the scene she was about to encounter would completely change her thoughts. On the street, a lone man was sitting. He wore an old, worn-out coat, his face was dirty, and there was loneliness in his eyes. As Karoline walked towards him, she felt a sense of unease in her heart. But at the same time, there was a deep curiosity inside her that made it impossible to ignore him. The man had his head lowered. As Karoline approached, he lifted his head and made eye contact. A quick smile appeared on his face, but it was strangely mixed with sadness. Karoline paused and tilted her head slightly. "Hello, how are you?" she asked. The man didn't respond for a moment, then took a deep breath and said, "I'm doing pretty well today. Thank you. Just sitting here. Sometimes it's nice to watch the city." Karoline approached the man more closely and asked, "Why are you here alone?" The man shrugged his shoulders and said, "Life, sometimes it brings you here." He paused before adding, "But I don't shy away from thinking about what's been left behind." Karoline noticed the painful look in his eyes. After a moment of silently watching him, she asked, "Are you sure you've made peace with your past?" She saw a fleeting expression on the man's face, but it quickly changed. "The past," he whispered. "The past took a lot, but that hasn't changed where I stand in life." Karoline thought deeply. This man carried a great deal of pain from his past, but that pain had shaped him into someone forced to live on these streets. As the conversation progressed, Karoline began to feel that the man had once lived a very different life. "Where did you live before?" she asked. The man paused for a moment, then replied, "Sometime, somewhere. It was home, but that was long ago." Karoline suddenly realized that this wasn't just the story of a homeless man. Something significant had happened in this man's life. But what was it? As the conversation deepened, the man said to Karoline, "I was a soldier." Karoline's eyes widened. "You were a soldier?" she asked, because the hardness in his face and the struggles he had endured seemed like the marks of a long military past. The man nodded and continued calmly, "Yes, a long time ago. But that life, it's one of those lives that changes you. No matter what we do always comes back." As Karoline listened silently, she realized she hadn't known he was a former soldier. She understood how this could change everything. "So as a former soldier, what was the biggest challenge in your life?" she asked. The man smiled, but this time his smile was less sorrowful. "Life is always hard, but over time, you realize that everything has a meaning. When you fight together, everything comes at a cost. But no matter what, a person finds themselves." Karoline took a deep breath and asked, "So why are you on the street? Is the government supporting you?" The man, after a long silence, said, "After the war, everyone goes their own way." Karoline replied, "But you're still a hero. The things lost in war are easily forgotten, but those losses leave behind someone who knows people, who cares about people." The man smiled faintly, but there was sadness in his eyes. "A hero? No one has ever called me a hero. All these years, I've just been lost. We didn't have a home, and maybe we never will. But in this world, no one cares about who I am other than being a former soldier. Unfortunately, the government didn't give us the help we needed. I had things when I was at war, but today there's nothing to stop me from being out here on the street. The life I've lived has taught me enough, but the government forgot me. They forgot us," he said. As Karoline looked at the man's words, she felt an overwhelming sadness rise within her. Karoline looked him in the eyes and said, "I'm really sorry. We as a society need to do more to help people like you. This isn't just about one soldier, but about all people who've put in the effort." The man nodded and said, "A lot of people ignore us, but luckily there are still some who care. people who want to help. Karoline took a deep breath and pulled out her phone from her pocket. I can help you with this, she said. There are organizations that provide support for former soldiers. How can I assist you? The man smiled with a faint sense of hope in his eyes. Thank you, he said. I didn't expect this. It's nice to see people who want to help. Karoline felt a change in the man's eyes. She knew that many people saw this man as just someone living on the streets. But now, his story carried a message that society needed to be more sensitive to. People like you should have a bigger place in this society, Karoline said, giving him one last glance. You deserve more. Never stop helping. The man smiled faintly with gratitude in his eyes, nodding slightly. I want to believe that too. Do you think Karoline Leavitt truly touched this former soldier's life? Is helping just about extending a hand, or is it also about listening, understanding, and forming an emotional connection? There are many more people in this society waiting for help. This video doesn't just tell the story of one man, but reminds the world of a responsibility that needs to be spread. Share your thoughts with us and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to spread the impact of this story. See you in the next video. Take care.